Why are you not doing this in Westminster this morning? There isn't a single politician, I would imagine, in one of these cars, these white vans here, that bus there, the 500 to Hemel Hempstead. You're not stopping politicians in Westminster, you're stopping ordinary men and women. Right, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing up there? Before their campaign, most people had never even heard of Insulate Britain, a small offshoot of Extinction Rebellion who've been calling on the government to promise to insulate all homes in Britain, all of our leaky, carbon-emitting homes by the end of the decade. But then on Monday, the 13th of September, they burst onto the scene when in small groups, around 90 protesters blocked key junctions of the M25.
Rachel, just put to that campaigner, he wants to affect the politicians, none of whom will be disadvantaged by not being able to get to work. Why is he not doing it in Westminster?
Why are you not doing this in Westminster this morning? There isn't a single politician, I would imagine, in one of these cars, these white vans here, that bus there, the 500 to Hemel Hempstead. You're not stopping politicians in Westminster, you're stopping ordinary men and women.
If there was a way effectively to target politicians, I'd be doing it, I promise you. But the politicians and the people who are in power, the people who have the money...
What about Parliament Square?
These people are not easily disrupted. I wish there was a way to be in Westminster.
They're not easily disrupted.
I wish that there was a way to actually get to the people who make the decisions, because they need to act for all of us and they are not acting for us. They're not concerned about our children. All they're concerned about is money. And we're all a bit the same. We're all focused on money and we're stupid because the world is biting us.
What is it the message you're seeking to get across?
So we're here today as Insulate Britain. We are trying to get the government to take action towards climate change, towards stopping the climate breakdown.
You're aware that we're a government spokesman or woman here. They would point out that we have moved far faster than any country. They would point you towards COP26 later this year. They would point you towards the phasing out of diesel or petrol-powered cars towards electric, the idea of phasing out boilers as well, heat pumps, and a raft of measures brought in a couple of months ago. What more do they need to do?
Well, that, but just a lot more.
What do you mean a lot? I'm sorry,
we are nowhere near the right...
More? There is a summit, the like of which has never before been seen on the planet, taking place in the United Kingdom later this year. And you say a lot, and you and your colleagues are inconveniencing thousands of people, and when asked what you want, quotes, a lot more.
Well, if you let me finish the sentence, I would have gone on to finish.
Go ahead.
We are demanding that the government take action today. The government are not doing enough. They are not even on track to meet their own target of 2050, which is not soon enough. I'm a scientist, and I feel it's my sense of duty to act and to get the message out, because we are in code red for humanity, and coming into COP, we need to act today.
To the fury and frustration of drivers, the arrests that day weren't the end of it. They just kicked off a cycle of arrest and release as they just kept coming back to the M25, and the police struggled to deal with their limited powers.
I do suppose, could you move under section 14 to the glassed area over there, please? Any chance at all? Any of you want to move over there? Right, I have spoken to the officers. I've outlined what offences are available to them. Individual officers will come and speak to you, and they will make their own decision as to whether or not you are arrested for failing to comply with section 14 of the Public Order Act. These individual officers will come and speak to you. If you've got any questions at all, just ask, and if any of you are in any discomfort or need anything, just let me know and we'll try and sort you out in a nice way. Can't phrase that any worse, could I? But no, if you need any assistance at all, just let me know. Okay?
In terms of
climate
employment,
crisis is going to affect my future
no, I appreciate it.
much more severely than this.
But it could affect your travel, etc. Family.
You're in a tough job. You're out there on the front line looking after people, and you're trying to get home, I assume, after an exhausting shift.
Yeah, I've done night shift. I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with the situation.
So I don't speak for these protesters. I may do one day. I hope I do soon. I'm conscious of the problem of not speaking for them, but I will speak to you about them as honestly and sincerely as I can. And I will tell you this, they are doing what they are doing because they care about you. Not just you, but your children, your grandchildren, their children. However many more generations we manage to squeeze out before the planet buckles under the weight of an exploding sun or man-made corruption and pollution, I do not know, but they care. They care about the planet. Some of them are performative, some of them are obnoxious, some of them get right up my hooter, but they're doing what they're doing because they're simply terrified that if we don't slam the brakes on soon, we are doomed, genuinely doomed. So nothing we say to them is going to touch the sides of that existential fear. Oh, I was 6 hours late for work yesterday. How is that possibly going to impact upon somebody who is doing something because they believe the species is doomed?
I'm a pharmacist. I'm due to open a pharmacy in Soham.
Right.
And
so these
of course
are the
it
people
won't
being,
open.
Nick, it's pharmacists, it's NHS workers. How are you feeling about this campaign group?
I think they're just going the wrong way about it. You know, they're doing this for effect, but not for sympathy. You see, I mean, we all support climate change. We all support sustainability. We all support a more regenerative way of life. But of course, this doesn't have. You see, every car here in Defiance have got their engines on.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's got to be tens of thousands of cars. So they're never going to. They're just working against themselves.
Protesters at 9:28. Can I do it? You realise that you're disturbing my business?
Right, sir, do you mind?
I'm only a private little
You're not going
business.
to help the
You're
situation,
disturbing. I've
please.
got no money to pay. I've got kids to feed, a mortgage to pay, and insulation in my house to put up. How am I supposed to do all that if you lot ain't getting out the road and letting my business work? No answers from any of you.
We're very sorry.
And what I'm saying is, in effective protest, look what the trans lobby have achieved without ever closing down a bridge or a motorway. Why? Why should these people have that right?
Because they need to wake up this government. That's what they need to do.
But what is COP26 about then?
COP26, well, it's meant to highlight basically what we need to do.
So why can't we at least wait until how they get on? Why can't we see what they achieve?
Well, if you have a look at the last summit that we had, nothing was really achieved there, was it? In terms of getting all the leaders together. So why again? Let's be real about this.
So we decide months before the summit takes place that it's going to be a waste of time, and we block the roads. We just take that decision.
Well,
we don't even listen to them. That speaks to the incredibly arrogant attitude.
Right, girls, I'm going to let you go. Don't move, otherwise it'll end up getting silly. Okay, do you understand? You're under arrest now. Don't move. Do you understand? Do you understand?
But this isn't our... I know what your fight is. I completely agree that this is a really, really good idea. But this is not the way to do it. You're causing more pollution by all of these cars just sitting here doing Oh, that's the solution. This is ridiculous. You're doing this over and over again. You're not helping your cause. You're making people hate you.
I was caught for about 6 hours in traffic. I was doing a mission of mercy to help my mother.
Yeah.
Because of a delay for getting her to a hospital for an ambulance that was being that couldn't get in time. The on-site doctor at her home was stuck in traffic, so they suspected she was having a stroke. And so I took it upon myself to try and get her to A&E as soon as I possibly can, because the huge delay for ambulance and proper attending physician at the home just wasn't acceptable.
Sure.
So I took it upon myself to solve it. And we got caught in this traffic.
Was this on the M25?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it should have been no more than, say, half an hour, 40-minute run. We were there for 6 hours.
Oh, dear.
And the reason why, these people, Insulate are just playing off as if it's not them. If it was their mother, I was there in my car with my mother for 6 hours, watching her slip away in front of my very eyes, and I could do nothing. I couldn't help her. And at one point, she put her hand on my leg and looked at me and said, "Oh, Chris, I don't feel very well." And that was the last words that she's been able to speak to me. And when we got her to the hospital, the doctors have said that if we were to have got to them within 90 minutes, her symptoms, her recovery would have been minimal, would have been minimised. Because she'd been left to endure a full-on stroke for 6 hours. It is severe. She's got complete paralysis now down her left side. She can't speak, but her eyes are wide and just, you can see what's going on.
That was to LBC's Andrew Pearce. Now, last week, a spokesperson, Liam Norton from Insulate Britain, came on the show, and he's joining me again now. Mr. Norton, and there's every chance that Chris is listening, what would you say to him? Good morning.
Hi, Nick. Obviously, our hearts go out to Chris and his mother, and it's a tragic situation, and it's terrible, Nick, isn't it? That we're in this position where we have
it's not
to
terrible. I'd like it to be
campaign in
actionable.
this way.
I'd like it to be actionable. I would like to round your colleagues up and put them in jail. So I don't think it's terrible. I think it's actionable, and I still haven't really heard, apart from a rather lame apology. How can you justify your actions?
Well, it isn't about justification, Nick. It's about acknowledging the situation that we're in. And what we're saying to you, Nick, I spoke to you last week, and I told you about what we do in the next 3 to 4 years will determine the future of humanity. And you came back at me with a story about diesel cars, and it sounds like you can't emotionally connect with the truth.
Don't talk to me about emotionally. Don't lecture me about emotional connection, Mr. Norton. You've just heard a caller explain how he watched his mother effectively drain away in front of his house for 6 hours. Don't lecture me on emotional content, okay? Let's get that straight.
And I'm talking to you about the suffering of millions of people.
And I'm talking to you about the suffering of Chris's mother, which you brought about with your colleagues, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the fact that people are suffering is hideous, but that is on such a global scale. It impinges on the governments of China, India, the United Kingdom, Australia, everything. That woman effectively dying in front of her son's eyes is down to you and your colleagues. So when are you going to suddenly stop with these lame apologies and actually accept that this is not the way to protest? Mr. Norton.
It's awful, Nick, isn't it? That we have to...
I've had enough. It's not awful. What's awful is climate change, of course. What's awful is that someone has virtually died because of your actions. That's what's awful. Liam Norton is with Insulate Britain.
Then, more than a week into the protest, on Tuesday the 21st of September, they risked their lives and the lives of the men, women and children in the oncoming traffic by rushing out in the middle of the carriageway on the M25 down in Surrey. So a few days later, they came down south here to the port of Dover. They blockaded several key routes into and out of the port, which is the busiest in all of Europe and a key part, of course, of our country's infrastructure, causing chaos for hours. 2 activists climbed on top of a tanker here. Others glued their hands down into the road, and it took hours for the police to move them. Tell me what your names are and what you're doing.
My name's Stephanie.
Shout a bit louder, sorry, we can't hear you, quite far away.
I'm just quite conscious I'm being filmed, that's all.
My name's Josh.
Hi Josh. Right, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing up there?
I'm
I'm trying to cause as much disruption as possible to get the message out to the government. We want the homes of the UK to be insulated.
And you think climbing onto a tanker is the way to do that?
Sadly, every other option that could be done has been tried and failed. There's been marches, there's been petitions, letters written to MPs, there's been big speeches outside Parliament, and everything gets ignored.
Surely the way to do something like this is to persuade public opinion, right? You want to bring the public with you so that the politicians do what the majority want. And so far, everything I've seen from your actions on the M25 and then down here today, I think the vast majority, if not everybody, is absolutely fed up and furious with what you're doing.
I understand that, but the reality is, it's too late for that. We've had 30 years of campaigning in a positive manner that get the public on side, and unfortunately it's got us nowhere. So it's come to this. I don't want to be here. I want to be back working in operating theatres where my passion is, training surgeons. That's what I used to do. But sadly, no one listens. It's been 30 years and still nobody is acting. So I feel that I have to be here. It is necessary for the future of my children.
Don't you need